Have you ever paused to reflect on what it truly means to identify with a label like African American? Is it simply about ancestry and historical ties, or does it encompass culture, shared experiences, and something even deeper, an evolving sense of belonging in a complex world? Labels can carry immense weight, shaping how people see themselves and how society perceives them. But what happens when someone challenges these labels, questioning their relevance or even their accuracy? Today, the African Web delves into a bold and thought-provoking declaration by rapper Trick Daddy, who publicly stated that he no longer identifies with the term African American. His statement has ignited a firestorm of debate across social media, with supporters applauding his perspective while critics argue it dismisses a significant cultural and ancestral connection. This polarizing conversation goes beyond one individual. It opens a window into the broader dialogue on racial identity, self-perception, and what it means to connect with one's roots. Why does this conversation matter? At its core, it challenges us to think critically about the labels we embrace and reject. It questions whether identity should be tied to ancestry, geography, or lived experience. And it invites us to consider how these choices shape the narratives of Black communities in America and around the world. Join us as we unpack Trick Daddy's controversial perspective, explore the diverse reactions it has sparked, and discuss what this dialogue reveals about identity in the modern era. From historical context to the broader implications for unity within the African diaspora, this conversation promises to be as insightful as it is timely. Before we dive into this compelling discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the African Web and click the bell icon for your regular dose of African history, culture, and its growing influence on global narratives. Let's explore this important topic together. Trick Daddy, a 50-year-old rapper from Miami, Florida, recently stirred controversy with his outspoken views on the label African American. Speaking candidly on social media, he questioned why Black individuals in America are tied to a continent many have never visited. "I ain't never been to Africa," he stated. "I'm born and raised in Goulds, Florida. My roots are here on US soil, not in Africa." This declaration, while reflecting his personal experiences, has sparked a wave of debates about identity and its meaning in today's society. For Trick Daddy, rejecting the term is less about denying ancestry and more about asserting his present-day reality, a sentiment shared by many who feel the label doesn't resonate with their lived experiences. This sentiment, while divisive, taps into a broader question. Should racial identity reflect ancestral ties, or should it focus on cultural and geographical experiences? For centuries, African Americans have grappled with complex questions about their identity. Many argue that Black Americans have cultivated a culture, music, cuisine, and art unique to their community, distinct from Africa yet undeniably influenced by it. Supporters of Trick Daddy's views see his statement as a reflection of this evolution. You don't see Jamaicans or Haitians calling themselves African Jamaicans or African Haitians. One supporter commented, pointing out that diaspora communities often develop their own identities separate from the continent of their ancestors. However, critics see Trick Daddy's remarks as dismissive of Africa's enduring influence on the Black American experience. "Your face screams come to Kent," one social media user quipped, referencing the fictional character from Roots that symbolizes the indelible African heritage shared by Black Americans. They argue that even if the immediate connection to Africa feels distant, the historical and cultural ties are undeniable. From the rhythms of African drum beats that shaped jazz and hip-hop to the philosophies of resilience and unity that guided civil rights leaders, Africa's impact runs deep. To reject the term African American risks erasing these contributions and disconnecting from a source of pride and empowerment. This debate isn't new. For decades, African Americans have wrestled with terms like Black, Negro, and African American, each laden with historical, political, and cultural meaning. In the 1980s, the term African American gained prominence as a way to foster pride and connection to African roots, echoing the movements of pan-africanism led by figures like Marcus Garvey. But Trick Daddy's statement introduces a modern dilemma. How do we honor the past while embracing the realities of today? The discussion also highlights the complexity of unity within the African diaspora. Africa, often referred to as the motherland, has long been seen as a unifying force for people of African descent worldwide. The concept of pan-Africanism has inspired movements that aim to bridge the gap between Africa and its diaspora. Initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and cultural exchange programs offer economic and cultural opportunities for collaboration. Imagine the transformative impact of these partnerships if members of the diaspora fully embraced their connection to Africa. Yet, Trick Daddy's stance raises concerns about whether fractured identities may hinder these efforts. For example, reconnecting with African heritage has led to tangible successes for some communities. In Ghana, the Year of Return campaign encouraged African Americans to visit and invest in the country, leading to economic benefits and deeper cultural understanding. Similarly, the rise of Afrobeats music in global markets has showcased the power of embracing African roots while creating something new. Could rejecting the term African American jeopardize such progress? Or does it reflect a need to redefine how individuals within the diaspora engage with their identity? Moreover, Trick Daddy's remarks shed light on a broader issue: the role of education and narratives in shaping identity. Many Black Americans have been misled or underinformed about their ancestry due to systemic gaps in historical education. Dane Calloway, a historian and advocate for reclaiming African American heritage, argues that much of what is taught about African American identity is politically motivated. If the information shaping identity is incomplete or biased, how can communities reclaim their true heritage and use it as a foundation for empowerment? Addressing this requires a collective effort to challenge stereotypes, question historical narratives, and encourage open dialogue like the one Trick Daddy has unintentionally ignited. Understanding this dynamic is not only crucial for Black Americans, but also for Africa's global role. Pan-Africanism, as a framework, seeks to unite people of African descent under shared goals for economic progress, cultural preservation, and political influence. Africa's growing economic strength, symbolized by initiatives like the African Union and development projects, offers opportunities for collaboration. Yet, these efforts can only succeed if the diaspora feels connected to the continent, not alienated from it. In rejecting the term African American, Trick Daddy highlights a critical challenge: finding a balance between embracing a shared history and asserting individual identity. His statement forces us to ask, how do we redefine what it means to be Black in a globalized world? And how can this redefinition foster unity rather than division? Trick Daddy's comments have reignited a critical conversation about identity, culture, and history. What do you think? Should Black Americans continue identifying with the term African American, or is it time for a change? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below and join the discussion. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the African Web for more deep dives into African history, culture, and development. And here's a thought to leave you with: if identity shapes our future, how can redefining it today create a better tomorrow for the African diaspora?